Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Rangers Reviews pre-match briefing. Sorry, we're slightly late. Here we are. I'm just getting a team sheet. Thank you very much. Just in time, handed to me, so I don't have to switch my screen ahead of Rangers versus Ross County in the Scottish Premiership. I've lost my voice slightly, but hopefully it lasts for the duration of today. Rangers make 3 changes from the game against Hearts in midweek. Michael Beale said there would be some rotation. I think there has to be an element of rotation, given there's no midweek games and he has a lot of first-team players to keep happy. A lot of players competing for the same jersey, and 3 changes is the number that's made today. You can see the team just going along the bottom of your screen there. It's McLaughlin, a back 4 of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Ben Davies, Borna Barisic, John Lundstrom will sit just in front of the defence with Ryan Jack slightly more advanced, but still part of midfield 2. Todd Cantwell play alongside, I guess, the front 4 of, or make up the front 4 of himself, Fashion Sakala, Alfredo Morelos, and Ryan Kent. Malak Tillman drops out of the team, as does Glenn Kamara. I thought they were both really good in midweek. Tillman's been excellent. I feel like I've probably bored everyone to death talking about Tillman, but I think he's been absolutely fantastic for Rangers. Probably you'd imagine just an element of rotation. Maybe he's got a knock. Maybe he just needs a little bit of a rest after playing a lot of games since Beale came in. I think he started every game bar one. It might even be every game he started in the league under Beale. Todd Cantwell, I think, was always going to come in. I thought he was really good last week at home against St Johnstone. We'll touch on him in a minute. And Glenn Kamara as well, I think he's been really good. But Michael Beale said after the game that Ryan Jackery made a comment that suggested that obviously Ryan Jack wanted to start as well. I guess there's an element of rotation in there. And John Lundstrom has largely been that more of a number 6, more the one who sits in front of the defence. And although today's a different game to the Hearts game, that was Lundstrom's best performance in some time. So I think it would have been harsh to drop, and even if I think Kamara should probably have kept his place as well. But it's a great position for Michael Beale to be in, to have options from the bench, to have the competition that he didn't really from the start of his Rangers managerial career. Which he does have now. So I guess we'll go through the talking points one by one, and then we'll go through some of the comments as well. John McLaughlin comes in place of Al McGregor. Now, McLaughlin has rotated in, I guess, from McGregor at points under Beale, but normally it's been away from home against Dundee United and against Ross County. Beale, before the the Dundee United game, highlighted kind of McLaughlin's strength in aerial duels as the reason for him coming into the team. That it's a home game today, so it'll be interesting to ask the manager after if that comes into his thinking as well today. The goalkeeping rotation is something that Gerrard did towards the end of his time here. I think it's something that can work, but like Rangers' goalkeeper situation for the whole season, if a mistake happens, if something goes wrong, then naturally it's going to face a lot of criticism. But McLaughlin does come in goals. It's the same back 4 that is played for. Well, really, as soon as Ben Davies has been fit and available, he's been in there. Borna Barisic obviously continues at left back. I think you're seeing a bit of a better version of him playing in this Beale team. You'll notice in a lot of the pass networks that are putting out that he's really high up the pitch, and Rangers obviously trying to utilise his crossing strength as always. In midfield, as mentioned, Ryan Jack comes in there. Jack's played some of his best football in quite a long time, I think, since the start of the year, playing alongside John Lundstrom today. And I guess the big talking point is that Sakala stays in. I think that makes sense. Again, harsh to drop him. Last week, I thought Rangers were really good, but they just didn't have that goal threat. And they maybe had too many players coming towards the ball at points. Morelos obviously missed chances he should have scored. Fashion Sakala, as opposed to playing Morelos and Cholak up top, Sakala has shown for his assist for Morelos. Morelos' the second goal, the third goal of the game at Tynecastle on Wednesday. Sakala can start out wide and attack from there, give you different options, as opposed to just playing a kind of flat front 2. In the same way that Roof did that differently by dropping into midfield, playing from the right-hand side. So I think it's fair he plays. And then Cantwell playing maybe slightly deeper. It'll be interesting to see if he retains that free role that he did last week when he made his Rangers debut here. I'll read the bench as well because I've realised I haven't done that. It's Al McGregor, Yanis Hadji, Antonio Cholak, Glenn Kamara, James Sands, Scott Wright, Nicholas Raskin, who obviously could make his Rangers debut after his paperwork was confirmed yesterday, his work permit, Alex Lowry and Malak Tillman as well. So a really strong bench. Obviously, Beale can make 5 substitutes. If you need to change something in an attacking sense, you've got 5 or 6 players there that can do that. The only real defensive option on that bench, obviously, is James Sands, who can play in defence. No other defenders aside from that. Tells you what type of game Michael Beale expects it to be. Right, let's get through some of these comments. David saying hello and John saying good morning. I hope you enjoy the game this afternoon. Thank you, John. So do I. Really looking forward to it and seeing hopefully a continuation of the tempo that Rangers set on Wednesday night against Hearts. Broken Nose Boxing, good friend of the show, says hello from Indonesia. Wow, that's exotic. Excited to see Cantwell start today. Yeah, I thought even when he came off the bench against Hearts, you can just see his intelligence and something that really sticks out to me about Cantwell, and we highlighted it in the piece we did about him, his kind of scout report when he first joined. When he talks about his dribbling, and again, it's included in that piece, it's in the tactics section of the website. He says he likes to base his touches off the way the defenders attack him, and that might sound like a basic thing, but why I think that's worth highlighting is he's better, I think, on the ball when he's under pressure from different angles, and when he's receiving the ball in pressurised areas than out wide. He's not someone I think you want to isolate out wide and create a 1v1 against the fullback. That's why I think he will be quite suited to breaking down teams, as he obviously did with Norwich in the Championship, because of that style of dribbling. And I thought, even from the bench against Hearts, and I think it was a positive that Rangers retained their levels for a full 90 minutes. I think Lowry and Cantwell helped them to do that. There was lots of encouraging signs from Cantwell and Lowry when he came off the bench in midweek. Pete and James both getting in touch to say hello. Hope you're both well. Gents, John saying hard to drop Glenn Kamara after the last 2 games. Totally agree with you, John, but just thinking about it now, we know that Kamara and Jack have both been managing their minutes. Kamara, Beale said, I think it was towards the end of last year, that he could well have had an operation on an injury that he's played through. So maybe after playing minutes in midweek, it just makes sense to rotate him out. But I agree, I think he's looked much more like the Glenn Kamara of old. And Beale said this time last week when Rangers beat St Johnstone, I think last Saturday, that he's taken on the instructions because he's running beyond the strikers, he's playing forward passes, and obviously he is an option from the bench today. Jason says, big shout out to the Cardiff, Brian, Loudrop, RSC, good afternoon to all of them, obviously travelling up to the game. Alan says, want to see the same energy and desire for every ball as Wednesday. I think that's a great point, Alan, because Rangers could have scored 7 or 8 on Wednesday, but I think what underpinned that and what was so important in that performance was how aggressive they were off the ball. It's something that Beale spoke about when he first came into the club, a comment he made. Everyone knew kind of roughly what he was going to do, but something he spoke about was running forwards off the ball. I thought you've seen that a lot on Wednesday. Rangers were able to keep Hearts away from the goal. They were able to keep the 3 attackers high, and watching the game back, they should have taken a lot more opportunity, I guess, of some transitional moments, but keeping Sakala, Kent and Morelos high meant that they always really had a 3v3 against the Hearts backline. But totally agree, I think that their off-ball work is so important. Owning the pitch is the phrase that Beale used, and I thought Rangers were able to do that, and it's important at home as well. It's something Stephen Davis did brilliantly under Steven Gerrard, is to keep the pressure on the opposition, to counter press and to attack them out of that. I thought Malik Tillman did it really well last week as well, and it was good to see the off-ball I guess identity really return under Beale in midweek. Yeah, Broken Nose Boxing as well, saying Tillman getting a rest, I reckon. Who's on the bench? We've read it at the bench, but I would just do it again. Just in case, it's McGregor, Hadji, Cholak, Kamara, Sands, Wright, Raskin, who obviously could make his debut, Lowry and Tillman. Raskin speaking to me yesterday, I asked him in the press conference if he was ready to play games, and he very much was. He was really nice to deal with, very personable, very chatty, off the camera as well, which is always nice to see. I think he's ready to play games. You could tell how visibly excited he was just to be at Ibrox, to have made this move, and I think he's going to have a real big impact even between now and the end of the season. Dave saying, good to see Sakala hasn't been dropped. A strong bench too. Hopefully minutes for Hadji, Cholak, and of course Raskin. Yeah, Hadji was given a couple of days off training after making his long-awaited return last week. You can read all about that in our exclusive interview with him on the Rangers Review. But he is back in the squad today as well. Pete's saying he can't wait to see Cantwell in that number 10 position. Francis saying what's happened to Arfield. Yeah, maybe one's put to the manager, but I guess it's also just competition. Who does he replace on the bench? Because you want Lowry to get minutes, you want Hadji to get minutes. So I guess it's the nature of the fact that Beale has to leave a couple of people out, and who cares, saying preparing for the cup final now as well. Yeah, it's obviously not long away at all at the end of the month. Rangers will have that in the back of their mind as they look to kind of continue that continuity, especially in the front three and the defence, with a bit of rotation as well. Okay, we're going to leave it there, and we'll be live after the game as well. Remember to keep up to date with us on our social channels. We'll have all the coverage from the game, and we'll look forward to speaking to you later on after we've spoken to the manager. Until then, whether you're at Ibrox or watching it elsewhere, enjoy the game.